name is Michael Sutton, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. And before I was wrongfully accused, I was a kid. I was just about to graduate from high school. I had a full ride to college. I was just a typical just teenager, just growing up. The night of May 28th, 2006, well, it started off as just like, it was a Memorial Day weekend for one. So on that weekend, that's when all the colleges and all the high schools let out for the summer. So that particular night, everything was okay, until it was time for us to leave and go home. And, as I was leaving going home, we was traveling on 55th and Woodland, and it was probably like 2:30 in the morning. And as I'm coming through a green light, a car in front of my car opens fire and shoots 2 people in the head, but it's 4 people in the car. And that car pulled off doing 100 miles per hour. I pulled over because I see the police coming from the 55th. It's a gas station in the area where I was at. And when I pulled over, it was like, I thought the police was gonna go after the car that did the shooting, But the police pulled me over. We all got handcuffed, but the police made up this story and said that when we turned on a side street, 3 of my passengers got out the car and we got to shooting at the police. Like with the Innocence Project, I never had no lawyers that I felt like understood me before, because it seemed like I've been working a case for so long where lawyers did understand me. And I guess they probably just thought I was just another case. But when I got with the Innocence Project, it was like they heard me, they listened to me.
There are about 2 million people in the United States in some form of prison, state, federal, or tribal, or sometimes civil commitments, mental health facilities. And if we were looking at 0.5% of people who are going to be convicted in the United States this year, we'd still end up with about 2,000 cases of wrongful conviction. And that's just picking up on what we know in hindsight. We tend to get people freedom in the sense that we remove them from behind prison walls and barbed wire. But most people are going to struggle to get any true sense of freedom, to move past the economic and psychological impacts of having been wrongfully convicted.
So when I began this creative process, I started thinking about what the Ohio Innocence Project actually does and how it works to exonerate wrongfully convicted people. And then I began thinking about some of the songs that I know that are sort of relatable to that. And the first song that came to my mind was The 7 Last Words of the Unarmed by Thompson. When somebody is wrongfully convicted, it is, in some ways, their own death sentence. What life as they know it, their ambitions, their goals in life come to an end. It's not trying to put yourself in somebody's shoes that's BIPOC, but finding what this text, or finding what the meaning behind some of this work means to you as a person that's not of color. I view it as a place of motivation, in that we shall overcome keeping silent.
When you take the project, the 7 Last Words of the Unarmed, it's an immediate pairing because of what OIP does. They do not always, unfortunately, get to help the people who have been wrongfully accused. Having a project like this is just eye-opening. It's like, wow, I can be passionate about several things, bring them all together, and if for nothing else, I have been enriched by the process, but I know I can tell these stories to my friends and family.
The people whose stories are being told in the last words of the Unarmed were unlawfully, immorally executed. They were accused and wrongly convicted, wrongly killed. It's the same. It's the extreme of the justice system not getting it right and not providing justice to everyone, not having an even blanket.
This music allows me to dig deeper into things in our society that need to be brought to light. Through choral music, we have the opportunity to tell stories. We are in a situation where these composers write this music because they want to ignite some type of discussion, some type of change. And as musicians, we have the power to do that.
As a faith leader in the community, I think this project has added another layer to the ways in which we go about supporting causes like the Ohio Innocence Project. Beyond just talking about it perhaps in the pulpit or in conversations that we have with parishioners and community leaders, this is a really interesting way to take an artistic approach, and I think that's I really appreciate that type of an opportunity.
The music that we are performing has affected me profoundly. The weight and how important this work is, and just learning about the people that are written about in our music has just changed me as a person. It's changed how I've approached working with others. It's changed how I viewed our society as a whole. And it just makes me that much more passionate about making a change and within myself, and also pushing forward and hoping to bring about an awareness that hasn't happened everywhere and hasn't happened with everyone yet. And the project with Fluidity and Bending the Arc is really doing that.
Like, I caught this case Memorial Weekend, and that was like the worst weekend of my life. And then I come home 15 years later. It took 2 years for me to get exonerated. And then I'm like, this coming Memorial Weekend, I'm gonna have my first baby. Now I got something to live for,